Do you want to say goodbye to procrastination? Do you want to be the most productive and efficient version of you that you can be? Do you want to eliminate friction from your life and work? Of course you do. Who's going to say no to any of those things? Everyone, Andrew Burns, founder of runningtokeepup.com, here with you. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. This is the Running to Keep Up show. As you know, if you've watched my videos or listened to my podcasts or read anything that I've written, you will know that I am an horrendous procrastinator. I procrastinate, given the chance, on pretty much everything. On, calling my mum, sorry mum, out on reading a book that I really want to read, on so many things, and it has cost me so much in my life that I try really hard to not procrastinate, to seek it out wherever it may be lurking. And that can be difficult, that can be a challenge. You have to be ever vigilant. Now, I'm pretty sensitive to this stuff. I've worked really hard to procrastinate less. I've worked really hard to root out procrastination wherever it may be hiding from me. And recently I discovered a new way that I'd been procrastinating on particular things in my world. And I wanted to share it with you because I think maybe there are some lessons for us all to learn in my epic ways that I find to procrastinate despite my ongoing vigilance. So I'm pretty pristine when it comes to things that come into my world. They come into my world, I acknowledge them, I acknowledge that there's something for me to do there, and I put those things onto my task lists, and eventually I get to those things as long as I'm careful about how I word those tasks. I learned most of this from David Allen. David Allen wrote Getting Things Done, GTD, and whilst I don't implement everything that he advocated in that book, the vast majority of my productivity system, the way I manage the things that I need to get done in my world, is done in a GTD way. Now, the way that I've been procrastinating has also come from David Allen. I can't remember whether it's in the book or whether I heard him talk about this on a podcast or a webinar somewhere, but I know that it came from him. And he was talking about things that come into your world that you're not really sure what to do with. So someone tells you about a new software tool, for example, and you don't know whether it's going to be of any use to you. You don't know whether you're going to get on with it. You don't know whether it's going to be something that you want to implement. And so what David Allen said was, how that goes onto his lists is R&D, new software tool, whatever that software tool might be called. And I love that. And so he used that kind of R&D such and such as a shortcut, as shorthand for look into this thing, but I don't know what it means yet. I don't know what to do with it yet. Perfect. I love a shortcut. I love a bit of shorthand. So I embrace this R&D prefix to some of my tasks. It's something that come into my world. I wasn't really sure what to do with it. R&D this, it would go onto my list. It might even go onto my someday maybe list. This was something that didn't need to get done. It was something that might be interesting. It was something that I might want to implement in my world. It could sit on my lists forever, and if I didn't do it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Love a shortcut. Love a bit of shorthand. What I developed that into was, if something came into my world that I wasn't sure about, rather than doing the thinking about that thing and figuring out what it was that I needed to do, what it was that I needed to get done, what it was about that thing that I needed to investigate, and putting that thinking into my task, I would take a shortcut. I wouldn't do the thinking, I would put R&D this thing and throw it onto my lists. You already spotted it. It's taken me months to spot it. That is a way of procrastinating. Procrastinating on actually thinking about the thing that I have put onto my list R&D. Because I've become so used to that R&D tag, meaning that that thing isn't important, doesn't need to get done in any kind of time scale that I care about. By expanding its use into other things, by expanding its use to postpone the thinking that I need to do about things that come into my world, what I've done is introduce a source of procrastination into my world. Now, before sitting down to record this video, what I did was I went through my task lists and searched up this R&D tag to see where I'd been using it. And I found two areas that I really shouldn't have used it in, and I have been procrastinating on these things as a result. So the first one was I've put down R&D Groovemember portals. Now, Groovemember is a software package that I use to develop and deliver online courses. So if you ever want to get some more in-depth training from me, if you like some of these videos and you want to investigate them further, I have some online courses that you could buy, and I deliver those through a software program called Groovemember, which is great. It's still kind of the developers are still working on it, but it works really nicely for what I'm trying to achieve in delivering courses to my students, to my customers. Now, a little while ago, they introduced a new feature of Groovemember, which was these portal pages. And the idea was that these pages, if you had multiple courses in your stable of courses that you were offering to your customers, this portal could house all of those different courses. When your customers came to that portal, maybe they've bought one course from you, but they can see other courses are available from you as well. And it sounds like a really nice idea. They introduced that feature months ago, and it is still on my task list right now, saying R&D Groovemember portals, because R&Ding that new feature of a tool that I'm already invested in, that I already use, is not what I want to do. I need to think more carefully about what I need to do in terms of this new software feature. What do I actually want to do? Well, actually what I want is, if this feature of the software lives up to the description that I've been given, to the description that I've heard about, I want one of those. I want to implement that into the content that I have in that software system. So R&D Groovemember portals just isn't going to get done. What I need to do is have a project, implement portal on Groovemember, and then I need tasks underneath that are going to lead me through that process. Investigate how I set up a portal, investigate other collateral that I'm going to need to produce in order to facilitate using that portal. There's so much that I need to get done. R&D Groovemember portals just isn't it. It doesn't cover it. It is ill-defined. It is amorphous. It is not something I'm ever going to move forward on. And as a result, the courses that I have in this platform don't have their own portal. Any customers that I have investigating those courses aren't aware of other courses that I have, or certainly not as easily. And all of that because I've been indulging in this R&D procrastination. The other thing I had on there was R&D terms and privacy policies. So what I actually need to do is update the terms and privacy policies on my websites that sell these courses that I'm talking about. So these two things are intimately connected. What does that mean? R&D terms and privacy policies. What am I going to do? How am I going to... That doesn't tell me what to do. And as a result, I'm procrastinating on that item. And that's a pretty important thing. I need terms and conditions and privacy policies on my websites for my customers so that they know where they stand, so that they understand the contract between us as customer and supplier. So yeah, and it's taken me a little while to see this procrastination. It's taken me a little while to see this breakdown in my thinking. And I wonder whether there are areas for you where you are procrastinating on things because you didn't define them clearly enough. That's what this really is. That's what this R&D procrastination really is. Something has come into my world. I know I need to do something about it. But rather than think through what that thing is, and therefore define really carefully on my tasks, on my task list, what the next actions are, I took this shortcut. I took this shorthand, R&D, this thing, and that's never gonna get done. So what do you need to do to avoid this sort of procrastination? You need to make sure that you're doing the thinking. When something comes into your world and you know there's something there for you to do, think it through. What is that thing that you need to do? Is it multi-step? If so, it's a project. What's the outcome of that project? When are you done with this? Define that. Okay, how am I going to get from here to there? How am I going to get from where I am right now to the outcome that I've defined as my project? What's the very next action that I need to take in order to move me towards that outcome that I've already defined? Only in thinking really clearly in that way, only having that level of clarity, can we avoid this particular source of procrastination. So what I would challenge you to do is to go through your own task lists and to look for things where you were a little wishy-washy about what you wrote down. You weren't clear. There isn't enough clarity there. And I bet you will find that you are procrastinating on that thing where you're lacking clarity. So go and have a look at your action lists. Be really vigilant. Go through it. Find areas where you haven't done the thinking. Find areas where you haven't been clear enough with yourself. Find areas where procrastination is hiding, and together let's root it out. Let's not give it anywhere to hide. Only then can we become the most productive and effective versions of ourselves that we can be. Do that. Let me know how you get on, and I'll see you here next time for the next edition of the Running to Keep Up show. Hey my friend, thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me that you would take your personal development time and spend it with me. I'm so grateful for that, thank you. What I would ask you to do is subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so I can let you know the next time I post a video. And if you have any comments, drop them below. I love hearing from you guys. It's your comments that really keep me on my toes and direct the next videos that I'm going to record. So yeah, tell me what you think, and I'll catch you next time.